All right out there, what's going on? Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com. Thanks so much for watching yet another session of my No BS Final Expense Sales Training Program. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. It is Friday after all. It should be fantastic. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing how to door knock your final expense leads effectively. So again, you saw the little flash of the delivery notice at the very beginning if you happen to be on. And we're going to integrate the usage of that delivery notice into this particular training session about how to door knock effectively. Now before we start talking about door knock, a few things I want to bring up to you guys, just as something to promote and to bring awareness to. So first of all, last week, if you happened to join, or maybe it was the prior week before that, I discussed the importance of getting your final expense leads situation into order, because the end of the year typically brings a little bit more difficulty in generating final expense leads, just the way it is. There's a seasonality impact as far as response rate goes, and it's a little bit tougher. It really depends on the person of getting in front of people and selling them. I like to think that to some extent the deadbeats just have a more, I don't know, believable reason they're not going to buy, because they've got to get kids for their grandkids presents and can't just spend all their money on booze and smokes after all. So anyways, it's still a month that you can sell, but the key thing to do is to make sure that your leads are aligned. One of the things I think a lot of agents do, because there's somewhat of a lapse potentially between the month of December and part of January, is to potentially consider avatar final expense leads. If you ever have thought about them, it's a really good time to give them a shot. And with now we're at November the 4th, it's time to start thinking about when you want to implement them as far as into your actual usage of the leads. Of course, I sell avatar leads. If you're interested at all in learning more about how the avatar leads work, turnaround time, and actually see some testimonial videos, if you'll head over to my website at feagentmentor.com, and then at the very top of the navigation bar, you'll see Buy Final Expense Avatar Leads. Click on that, read and watch the videos, and make your own mind up if what I offer makes sense for you. Secondly, I also want to promote the Ninja Quoter. I did a video on Ninja Quoter. It's effectively a web-based quoting software where you input your client's information and out it spits maybe about a dozen to 15, depending on the state, potential pricing options for your client. It's an easy way to do a bunch of premiums at once instead of having to thumb through your agent guide and come up with a particular sort of amount that would make sense for them. So it saves time, it's convenient, and if you ever had in a situation where you have to show how something's competitive, you can actually do it pretty effectively with that. If you'd like the link to that, make sure you ask me and I'll be happy to provide it. And it's about $20 a month. It's well worth the investment. Finally, before we get to the training, is the mentorship program. Of course, as you guys know, I just don't do free training for a reason, or without any reason, I should say. I am an agency national in recruiting, and I particularly work with mostly agents who are brand new to final expense, whether they be recently licensed or if they've got background in other life insurance or insurance niches and they're wanting to expand and focus in final expense. My job is to help agents, bring them into my agency, and help develop them to the best of their capability. If you have any interest in that, you're more than welcome to reach out to me via Facebook or my website or anywhere down in the comments box. I'll be happy to reach out to you, and we can have a personal one-on-one conversation about all the details and questions of how the mentorship program works. So with that said, let's get down to business. Today's topic is how to sell, or I should say how to prospect your leads from a door knocking perspective. So it's important to understand, first of all, why we door knock in final expense. Because many of you may be coming from industries where your door knocking isn't something that's a primary source of prospecting activity. And I want to make sure I clarify this before I go any further. Whenever I say door knock, the implication is always that there are leads involved. It's not where we cold door knock. You can certainly do that in this business. It's just that most of us in the final expense business are using leads where we show something to the client or our future client and get in the door that way. We don't go cold 99% of the time. So why do we door knock to begin with? Well, there's a couple of factors as to why. First of all, it's probably the easiest way to get out there and make business happen. Setting appointments over the phone is a fantastic skill to learn and implement. I'm actually releasing an appointment setting mastery program within the next week to 2 weeks. If you're on my newsletter list, you will get more information on that teaches you how to set appointments effectively. But the thing is, it takes time and development to do that. And when we look at direct mail and door knocking leads, it's a different level of connection when you show up face to face with somebody. It's harder to be a jerk. It's harder to slam the door in somebody's face, especially when you're like, you sent this card in. I'm just doing my job. And so you get a lot more, for the most part, more follow through, more conversion on your leads, and you've got the best opportunity in order to actually convert that lead into some kind of sale. Whereas over the phone, there's a few roadblocks you can't overcome with skill. Point is, it's a different skill set setting appointments over the phone than door knocking. Door knocking mostly is just about doing it. If you just show up and you put these leads in front of people's faces, they will see it. And the bottom line is that if you know what to say and how to present yourself, you have a much higher chance of converting those leads into appointments, of which you will hopefully sell on the spot. So moving along here, so what I want to talk about in this video are the best practices for door knocking. Because door knocking, as much as most of this game, is just a numbers game, meaning you just have to do the numbers and getting out there and seeing people. Some are going to take it, some aren't. There are a few little nuances you need to teach yourself and implement in order to get the most out of your prospecting door knocking capabilities. I want to start right there about what I recommend and teach my agents to do in order to get the most out of their door knock. So the first thing here is we got to consider your arrival. So when I mean arrival, I mean when you pull up into the driveway, and what do? A couple of things I've started to do that make me feel more confident. A lot of this game, we had a conference call earlier with my agency. I was interviewing an agent, and he accurately said this game of final expense is like golf. The biggest challenge is between the 4 inches between your ears. It's a head game. And so I'm always in favor of, if you do something that may not seem normal or a little strange, who cares? If you feel it's effective and it makes you more confident, do it. One of the things I do when I door knock that maybe a lot of people don't do is, first of all, I always leave my car running. I pull up in the driveway. I don't care if I pull up behind somebody's car. That never bothered me. I want to be in their driveway, not on the side of the street. I think that's more like friends or family go in the driveway, whereas salespeople park in the street. But I leave the car on, and I keep my door open. Now, why would I do that? Well, the reason is, in my mind, the way I look at it is I think, well, if I leave my door open, it looks like I'm just here temporarily. What the strategy, the methodology behind that is, well, maybe if they're peeking out the window and deciding if they're going to answer the door or not, they see the guy's got his door open. It's not a permanent stay. It's just temporary. Maybe it's just something that's very quick and easy. And if they see the car is still on, the lights are on, it's just a quick ordeal. So I do that. Don't know if it works well, but I do it because that makes me feel better about doing it. So I leave the car on, I arrive. Now, some people will actually step out of the car and they do this little number, even if it's just for, hey, half a second, because they think that if someone's peeking out the window deciding whether or not they're actually going to see you, if you wave at them, you caught them, and now they have to answer the door unless they're going to look like real jerks. Again, I don't know if it works. I've heard it enough in all sorts of niches that I would recommend doing it, or at least try it out, see what you think. I've never done it, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of silly, but I've never experienced anything where I think like I'm missing out because I don't do it. So that's what I do when I arrive. I never take the actual sales collateral with me. The only thing I take is this right here, my clipboard, and then the actual lead. Okay, so I don't take everything like I'm coming after you with every bit of my ammo. I want to be as minimalistic as possible. So when I get to the door, what I do is I always try to door knock the door first. There's an old saying that strangers ring the doorbell and friends door knock, or whatever. So I always like the door knock. I also like the door knock very firmly with authority. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going to give you the example. When I'm door knocking somebody, it's like this. I door knock it, I think that was 11 times, usually like 9 to 13 times, and it's loud. I want them to know that I'm there, and I want them to immediately think that door knock is authority. I kind of feel like you can tell who's coming to the door and their confidence level by their door knock. I don't know if you have ever thought of that, something like that, but it's kind of funny because people come up and they go, they do a little weenie little door knock. They sound timid to me. You know, it doesn't sound like they're ready for action. I want a door knock strong and hard. And when I do that, I step back from the door. I'm 6 foot even. And if it's like on a porch and there's some stairs, I'll step down one stair because I think the idea behind that is I'm getting on their level. All right. I actually trained with a guy who I think he's 5'4". He wouldn't do that. He'd get into the door, pull open the glass door, get into it with the stuff right in front. So when they answer the door, he's already there with the lead right in front of him. And I guess it was, I don't know, that's just what worked for him. I never did that because that was too in your face, literally. And I never felt the need to do it. So what I do at that point, I step back. One other thing I'll tell you this is that when I door knock, I had one person one time tell me, you shouldn't door knock that loud. You sound like you're the police. And actually I thought, you know, that's a good reason to door knock that hard, because if they think I'm an authority, they're not going to skirt on actually answering the door. So always do that. I highly recommend it. If they don't answer right away, after I count down in my head 10, 15 seconds, I do it again. And then that's usually, if nobody answers at that point, I go to the side door, if there's a side door, and I knock on that door. If that doesn't work, I'll peer around the back side of the house and just to check if they're in the backyard. So I try different doors, and some people actually, you know, they go through their side door instead of their front door. The side door is where they go through and live through. I mean, that's really, I think, about how we exit our building. We don't really ever go through the front door in my house. So most people are the same way. So always try the side door before you give up and go back to the car. So what happens if they do answer? What do you actually say? So before I get to that, the key thing with door knocking is that door knocking, what's great about it is you get to use all the capabilities of language and communication, whereas on the phone you just have your word selection and tonality. When you door knock, you've got word selection, tonality, you've got eye contact, and you've got body language. Okay, and the thing is, every study has shown body language makes a huge impact on the point you're driving towards and whether or not they're going to trust you and allow you to come in their house. So that's the power of door knocking. So we starting there, make sure you're dressed correctly, okay? Just tuck your shirt in, you know, wear a belt, make sure you're cleanly shaven, you know, don't look like a bum, all right? Goes without saying, but hey, I'm a millennial, so, you know, some of us in our age need that friendly reminder. So you want to make sure you give yourself the best odds of success. Now, you can do it in jeans, you can do it in khakis. I wear jeans now. It has no impact on my sales results. Khakis, polos, button downs, you name it. Business casual is fine. I've had agents that wear ties and do slacks and a blazer. I think that's a little too much for most agents. If you just look business casual, that's plenty sufficient. When they answer the door, it's important you make eye contact with them directly. You don't want to be looking like this all over the place, eyeballs bouncing. That looks sketchy, all right? Looks like you're up to no good. And they may not see that or think that immediately, but that, like, darting around stuff immediately kicks off some sort of, you know, evolutionary bias that there's somebody that's up to no good. And people make a decision if they're going to listen to you or talk to you within seconds, or they're going to shut the door on you. So again, you got to establish that stuff right away. So you want to look at them in the eyes and want to smile. Make sure you smile and sound cheery. Tonality is important. You don't want to say, hey, my name's David, here's this card you sent in, and you're boring. You know, you don't want to be boring, you don't want to be drab. Be excited. You're there to actually help someone with something that, something with someone who doesn't really want to deal with it, but knows that they should. You know, you are a critical factor in helping so many people out there. You should be excited that you have the luxury and the ability to make a huge impact in people's lives with the career that you have. So you have to carry that mentality with you and be excited about meeting new people and the prospect of making a sale and helping somebody out who needs your help. So with that said, once you do that, so you make the eye contact, you got the positive language, you're not slumped over, darting around eyeballs, you're there in front of them and making an eye contact. I always go out to be and reach for a handshake. I want to reach for their hand. Again, body connection is important. That's a form of communication. And look, if they don't reach for your hand and they just let you hang out there, no big deal. Just don't miss a step. Don't take it offensively. They're still judging you for whatever reason. So I'll greet myself and say, hey, my name is David Duford, and the reason I'm here is because, and then so I'll turn, if we act as if this is my lead piece here. Let's see if I can put this up here. I'll say, if you're the prospect, I'll say, the reason I'm here, Mr. Prospect, is that you sent this card right here. You see your name here signed off on it. And so I'll take the card away from him at that point. Sometimes I'll let him look at it a little bit more in detail, but you want to just at least point to the card and specifically where they signed off on it. That's the critical element here. When they see their signature, there's no denying that they didn't do it. They know they did it. And so at that point, you show it to them, say, you sent this in, here's your signature, and the reason I sent the card in, or the reason, well, let me back up. So you see this card here, Mrs. Prospect. The reason I'm here today is because you sent this card back last week, a couple weeks ago, requesting information on programs to take care of your final expenses, for example, your burial or cremation. I'm here because I'm in between appointments. I was just down the street and figured, hey, you're just right around the corner. All I need is 5 minutes to go over with you what you requested. Would that be okay? That's it. That's all I say in that initial reaction, in that initial meeting. So let me go over why that works for me. So first of all, I show them what they sent in. We've disengaged. I didn't do that. You're trying to scam me. When they see their signature, there's no needing to prove anything else. You've disengaged that skepticism. And when you tell them that, a reason I'm here is because you sent the card in requesting information about final expense coverage for burial or cremation. So that establishes and reminds them, a couple weeks ago, they sent this card back. And if you got a copy of the card, try to know what color it was. If it's a green card, a pink card, use the color of the card. It was a pink card you sent back requesting information about final expense options. I always say, the reason I'm here, so I always give them kind of like I don't want to say an excuse, but a way that helps me out. I say, look, I'm here because I was just between appointments. Even if you just say that, I was close by, I'm just between appointments. That's enough reason to say, I just wanted to drop in, see if you had 5 minutes to go over the information you requested. Would that be okay with you? And that's it. So that tells you why you're there. It tells them, why you dropped in. You just had some time between appointments or before your next appointment. You get the idea. And can I go over this with you? And you sell the appointment. Just takes 5 minutes, and that's all I need from you to do. And is that okay? And that's kind of the soft close. Here's the truth, guys. So, that's the great thing about door knocking is it doesn't take this whole elaborate script to do it. You just have to be personable. You have to connect and make eye contact and just be straightforward with why you're there. Half the time, the door's still open. Like they're beckoning you to come in. But I'm going through my script, and they're like, opening the door like, you going to come in? So I'm mouthing off this whole time. Half the time, I could have just walked in anyway. And that's what I mean. A lot of this is just showing up and going through the numbers. But that's the approach that works really well for me. The biggest objections that I'll get at the door is I'm busy, I've got life insurance, I thought you were going to mail it to me. The normal objections we all get if we're setting appointments over the phone. The way we handle that is the same exact way. If somebody says, I'm busy, be like, that's fine. I have 5 minutes. That's all it takes for me to go over with it. At that point, if you'd like to continue, great. If not, we can reschedule, or if I can't help you, you can throw me out and we'll still be friends. Sometimes I'll say that. I always thought that was funny and breaks the ice a little bit. Would that be okay? If they really give you a good reason, I got to go pick up my daughter from school and I'm just out the door, say, great. Your next strategy is to always set the appointment later that same day. That's step 2, or contingency plan 2, or contingency plan 3 is to set it for the next day. So say, that's fine. I actually got free time by 7 o'clock. All I need is 5 minutes. Can I swing by around 7 o'clock and then just deliver the information to you? So set the appointment at the same day, or if they say no to that and you can't find another time during the day, so that's fine. How about tomorrow at 9 o'clock? I'll be around here then. Again, it'll be just a quick appointment. How's that sound? So try to set the appointment same day or the next day, and be relentless in trying to get something out of that appointment. Don't let that lead go without trying to get some kind of commitment to an appointment. I'll even do a couple of days in advance if that's the only avenue that I've got to get them. You know, if it's a couple days down the road, I'll set it taking the risk that they may not be there, but at least I've got something out of the deal. And you can always swing by and see these people at another time anyway. So what happens if nobody's there, all right? What if you knock on the door, right, and nobody answers? What do you do? So there's a couple of methods you can do. The first one I'll talk about is you can go back to your car and you can get your phone and call the lead on the spot. And then maybe they'll answer the door. If you think that they're there, that's the time I would do it. If you're there, you're on the phone with them, and you see their car, well, I should say you see their car there and you think they're there, call them. Say, hey, Miss Jones, I'm just stopping by to see you. I see your car's here. I just wanted to see if you were here and had 5 minutes to deliver this information you requested. Are you here right now? And then see if you can get them to answer the door that way, because they're probably not expecting a phone call. And if they do, you're kind of putting them on the spot to go ahead and give them the ability to say, yeah, okay, come on in. The other thing, that what most commonly I do, is that I'll leave one of these things. So let me pull up my little screen here so I'll make sure you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's this. This is a delivery notice. I'm going to get right up here for you. This thing is super powerful, okay? This delivery notice is a way to elicit callbacks back to your phone number for people to actually notify you that they're there and that you can go back and see them. And the power in this thing is that when you stick it on the door, obviously they're reading this, they're thinking it's a delivery. It effectively is. If you think about it, we're delivering information. Their decision is, it's up to them if they're going to buy or not, but we're delivering the information they sent back in that lead card. So, but we all know that they're reading this and they're thinking there's some kind of package coming, okay? And so what you do with this, you put down the name, the date, the time, the phone number, the person you're calling back, and then first, second, or final attempt. They stick that on the door, and they're going to call back. Now, when they call back, the first thing that tells you is that they're home. So if you got time and you're free, you can go door knock and pretty much be guaranteed that they're going to answer the door. The second thing is that you can also set an appointment from that callback. And if you're busy for some reason, then set it for the next day. My recommendation is to not answer the phone and just drive back to see these people. Go ahead and see them, knock on the door and say, hey, I'm calling about the delivery notice that you called me back on. Then just go into your script. Don't act and get all bent out of shape saying, yeah, it's not really what you think it is or anything like that. Just say, yeah, the reason I'm here is you requested some information about final expense plans. I'm the guy that delivers the information, blah, blah, blah. Same pitch. Don't get too concerned about too much what the card says or the postcard says, the sticky note. So the sticky note here, the nice thing about the sticky note is that you probably have around, in my experience, roughly a 40% callback ratio. It's gotten, I think with the amount of final expense agents out there, this isn't some kind of secret. A lot of agents use it. And I think and I've run across many times working leads where there's already one of these on there. The guy just drove by 30 minutes prior to me. So a lot of people use them, and I think the more usage, the less effectiveness you get. I'm seeing some kind of diminishing returns, but not enough to not do it. And look, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, like Wayne Gretzky said. And with delivery notices, you're giving yourself a huge advantage in time and efficiency for a very low cost. Lastly, if you're interested in buying these, if you'll leave a comment down in the bottom of this live video, I'll be happy to provide you the vendor that we work with. They do these delivery notices. They also do the ID tags. I didn't talk about that. I'll get to that in just a second. They do the ID tags, magnetic business cards, all sorts of the paraphernalia that we use as final expense agents. So mentioning the ID tag, when I started, I used to wear an ID tag, and it was just like a, like the necklace thing and the thing hanging down. It had my mug shot on it, my license numbers on it. I recommend you to do that if you're new, because that kind of gives an official vibe. Okay, if they see something that looks official, most people don't question it. They just assume it's authority. And we're just posting our face and our license numbers, and that's it. And that kind of helps relieve tension, because when you see somebody with a lapel or something on that looks official, it's like, okay, that guy's official. Well, the truth is we just made a copy and laminated it at Kinko's, after all. And it's nothing that's issued by some governmental authority, but we kind of derive a conclusion that it is. That does help to some extent. Ultimately, those are crutches, and you don't need it. I don't personally use it anymore. But for guys that are brand new, it definitely helps. It's very easy to make one of them. And like I said, leave your comment in the bottom, and I'll be happy to provide you the vendor that will help you out with that. I'm going to go check out here on my live stream here, see if anybody has left a question for me. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. See if I can answer anything, maybe particularly that was said. David, would you like okay, yeah, sure. Door delivery tag. Be happy to do that, James. No problem, sir. I don't see anybody else here asking any questions. That's totally fine. If you're watching this after the fact, you're more than welcome to leave your question down below. I'll answer it directly, and if we need to have a conversation via Facebook, or if you want to go to my website and have a conversation with me that way, be fine. So last thing I'll say before I wrap this bad boy up is, what would you say as far as a goal goes for door knocking? So when I door knock, the key thing to do when you door knock is to make sure that you are doing as much activity as possible. Final expense is a numbers game primarily. Once you get the numbers down, you're seeing enough people, and you're lining up at the plate, the bat enough, then you can start honing in on your game. You can start getting better at the sales process. I sincerely feel the numbers come first before the finessing and adjustment of the salesmanship game. So the same thing goes for door knocking. If you're complaining about your door knocking skills aren't any good, first thing I'm going to ask you is, well, how many door knocks you do in a day on average? Well, just 2. Now, 2's not enough, unless you're getting in each home and you're selling them all. If you're out there exclusively door knocking, you should be doing at least 10 door knocks a day, at least, unless every door knock you did resulted in a presentation, which resulted in a sale. If your goal should therefore be about 10 door knocks a day. If you're doing 10 a day, there's going to be a sale or 2 in those door knocks. Now, some days you won't get any, and the other days you'll get 4 or 5. That's the deal with this business. It's not a formulaic, algorithm that you can just plug into and know for sure that the outcome's going to be. The outcome's random over the short term, but we tend to see trends in the long term, meaning you got to stick with the process for a longer period of time to begin to see the trends, to see the averages play out. But the key thing with where I'm going with this is to make sure that you're consistent with your door knocks. You don't want to, if you want to do better, you got to make sure you're doing the numbers first. So try to strive for 10 a day. It's the best way to start. You will get results. That means if you have to go back and door knock another one again, do it. Don't stop until they give you a firm yes or firm no at the door. A lead is not dead until it really is, actually, or they just tell you no, absolutely flat out no. So just keep that in mind. That's very critical. Just make sure you get the numbers in. And many of this stuff that I'm talking about works out. Beyond that, let's see what else here. That's pretty much it for me. Door knocking, if you're not doing it, you need to do it. Oh, one last thing before I end. This is very critical. I'm of the persuasion that with the agent who only goes on appointments that they've called or they've hired an appointment setter to do, the difference between mediocrity, which would just be running appointments that they went on preset, versus the guys who are very successful in this business, the little thin blue line, this little margin there, is door knocking. The ones who succeed, the ones who are making a high multiplier of their investment and their leads, are door knocking their leads between their appointments. They do it in the morning, they do it in the afternoon, they do it in the evening time. They utilize that time they've got, space between their appointments, to try to use that time to go get a deal, make a sale. And they do it by door knocking. As an agency person who recruits and develops agents, I can tell you with sincere certainty that this is the absolute case for pretty much every agent. The ones who succeed use door knocking to the most of their advantage. They may not like it, they may not love it, may hate it, but they do it because it actually works. So if you're not happy with your results, if you're not getting 10, 15 appointments a week, maybe you should look at your door knocking volume. Are you doing it enough? You know, you may need to buy more leads, certainly, but you also need to make sure you're utilizing and pushing through all those leads to try to burn every lead that you get, meaning you want to get, if you get 20 leads, 30 leads, you want to work through the entirety of those leads every single week and try to have the goal of getting an answer from every last one of those leads, whatever it takes, by door knocking or appointment setting. I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoyed today's training. I want to invite you back, if this is your first time watching my No BS Final Expense training, that I have one every Friday on Facebook at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It's about 20 to 30 minutes long. This one actually went pretty long today, but lots to talk about. I do all sorts of topics on final expense, from leads, training, mental game stuff, you name it. There's all sorts of things we talk about. If you miss it, of course, it's always available to watch on a record or a recording on Facebook, and then actually port the video over to YouTube. So if you're on my YouTube subscriber list, you'll see it as well every Friday. So again, thank you so much for watching. My name is David Duford, and again, if you're interested in avatar leads, you're interested in the quoting software I mentioned earlier, and what else would you be interested in? Oh, the mentorship program. Go ahead and reach out to me or Facebook private message me, and I'll be more than happy to help you out in any potential that I can. So thanks so much for listening and watching. Take care, guys.